right. I am talking to you from the Watchtower. Okay, this video is about HOAs. HOA stands for Homeowners Association. And who am I making this video for? Anybody who's been curious about HOAs and want to know what they involve, or anyone who's ever lived in one in the past, and maybe you can relate to this story, or those of you that are maybe curious about what does it really mean. You've seen listings for an HOA neighborhood, and hey, there's our camper over there, and maybe you want to know what's really goes into them, or how to maybe avoid getting stuck in one of these. Okay, well, I will share with you my experience. I have lived in an HOA neighborhood for 16 years. Starting from 2009 until this past spring, when we ended up moving to where my relatives lived. Here is the big issue, as I see it, with HOAs. Like a lot of things in America, they kind of give you this illusion that, well, they just sound better than what they actually are, you know? They give you this illusion that you're going to be living in a development that is free of riffraff and crime. But the reality is, a lot of the time, it's just another way for your, I guess, ongoing living affairs to be kind of micromanaged. And the reason I put it in the title, most HOAs suck. I'm sure there's some out there that aren't that bad. And I invite people who live in good ones to go ahead and comment too. I also have another first cousin. I think she lives somewhere near St. Louis. She lives in an HOA, and maybe hers isn't so terrible, but she did report to me one time that the president was getting after her for something she had planted too close to a yard or front yard, or something nitpicky. So I want to jump right into what is it about HOAs that makes them really suck. First of all, it's there's this board of people. At least that's how it was with us. We had a president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer, just like any group, organized group. And sometimes these presidents, especially if you got women involved, they can be total Karens. They love this position they're in because they get to have this illusion that they got all this authority, and and they can come after you for nonsense, ridiculous things. If you do end up moving into a HOA neighborhood, you'll probably receive a booklet. I think it's called CC&R, or I think the proper word is the covenant, which it outlines all the rules and everything. I don't know about the CC&R. That almost sounds like the name of a 70s rock group, but anyway. So here's the thing, and I've heard about people dealing with HOA Karens in the past, and if you can find something in your covenant booklet and it's not whatever it was she was griping about to you is not actually outlined in this booklet, then in other words, you will be able to have grounds to drop whatever bullshit accusation was going on leveraged against you. Okay. So anyway, my first husband, who was far from a reprobate in any way, shape, or form, he thought the whole thing was BS too. We dealt with one of these Karen types. So got on to be about our cat, for one thing. And another time, someone else on the board said something about my first husband. His truck was leaving oil stains in the driveway. I can't remember what. I think, and he felt the whole thing was just when people got have some kind of agenda against you or some bone to pick, they'll look for some excuse and just to see how you'll comply. So that's the deal. Now, if you live here, this is the big difference between an HOA neighborhood and just your normal average neighborhood. If you live in an average normal neighborhood, let's say you're very you negligent on maybe taking care of the front yard. You know, your front yard looks like a jungle. Maybe somebody in the county might come after you, and they might give you about 30 days to clean it up, mow it down, trim it, whatever. Yeah, that's pretty much what could be expected if you're not taking care of your outside yard's appearance. But an HOA neighborhood, the biggest difference is your nitpicky, stupid stuff like our shutters had to be all painted the same color. Excuse me. There had this stuff in our book about we couldn't have curtains they had to be white if they were facing the front. Another rule we had to follow is we could not have a window AC units in the front window. Whatever was facing the road, people would go down. Which I thought was stupid. That's my dogs. Okay. So yeah, and other things. You know, it was a very cookie cutter neighborhood. If you look back at some of my old videos when I first started this channel, that was the neighborhood I was living in. Everything from 2024. You could maybe get a glimpse of what our house looked like. Okay, so there you go. Yeah, they can come after you for really stupid shit, but you'll have to check your covenant, make sure it's actually stated in that book that you have to do X before they can do whatever consequence to you. Hey, doggy. He's wondering what I'm doing. Excuse me. I had been sick for a few days, so I'm just getting better now. And the next thing, fees. Homeowners associations have fees involved. When I first moved into my neighborhood, the fee was every month was $40. And it stayed that way for, I guess, about 5 or 6 years. And then they raised it up to $45 every month. And then when COVID happened, they went up to $60 a month. And this other company took over. And we used to have this little building as a clubhouse, is what we called it. They had a little mailbox, and we would write them a check and put it in that mailbox. Easy peasy. And this new company, you had to you got all screwed up. Not only did they jack up the monthly dues, but we had to either do something with your bank where you have the amount drafted at a certain time every month, or you'd have to rely on snail mail, and the address was out in Arizona, and you know how slow first-class mail can be. So that was very aggravating. They said I owed back late fees because I didn't, because the payment wasn't getting there on time, and the idiot in charge was, I don't know, he had no people skills. I was trying to talk to him about what. I think we finally got that resolved, but it was a pain in the ass and a headache for me for a number of months. So moving on. Yeah, that's it. Here's what I think should be different. Big problem is a lot of newer neighborhoods are HOAs nowadays, like built into after 2000 or so. So that's something I wanted to mention. Fees, nitpicky rules, power-hungry Karens. Okay, I think I've pretty much covered everything that sucks about HOAs. Even though I don't really like everything about this situation my husband and I are in right now, having to live out in a camper and everything, at least we're freer. The only thing I don't like is that before my house back there is on the market, and I still have to pay the dumb HOA fee until it's sold. That sucks. But anyway, I think I've pretty much covered everything. I think HOAs should be voluntary. That way, if you really feel like that it's a net positive for you and you pay the dues, and they do things like cutting your yard work. There was a company that would cut our front yards and everything. But if it's voluntary, that means not everybody has to be a part of that HOA. So that's what I think should be done differently. In other words, make all HOAs voluntary instead of mandatory, which is what the one I was in. I don't know how many are, but maybe there's a few that are. Oh, look at that pretty sunset right there. But anyway, that's pretty much it. If you have anything you want to add, let me hear from you, and I will talk to you another time. Bye.